While Kenya's climate change laws aim to build the resilience of communities to climate change shocks, pastoralists seem to have been left out. This has exposed pastoralists and left their livestock's livelihoods vulnerable.
Climate change has affected us or the communities that live in these asal areas, particularly the livestock keepers, a lot. And this has diminished the pasture, it has diminished water sources, so it has impacted them seriously.
What we were lacking was law in place for Marsabit County to have things done different, even in the challenge that there is climate change, that adaptation can be done, mitigation can be done, and that would help community to have resilience to move on with its livelihood.
Most of the pastoralist community do not know how much was spent in livestock sector. The linkages of livestock market was inadequate.
Since 2016, SNV Netherlands Development Organisation and the International Food Policy Research Institute, through the Voice for Change Partnership Program, have been working with civil society organizations in Kajiado, Samburu, Marsabit and Isiolo counties.
We realized that when we call a meeting, only gentlemen can turn up. There are no ladies in these particular meetings. So we thought to ourselves, why not go back to the drawing table? We discussed this with our partners, and thanks to their always open arms, they told us that, okay, it's a good thing. We need to also follow up with discussions, especially with the county government and the multi-stakeholder platforms that you have already established.
The organizations lobbied and advocated for inclusive livestock, climate change policies and regulatory frameworks.
When PACJA came in, it brought the issues of advocacy in policy, and they were able to train us on how to engage in policy making, how to make our own policies, how to look at them, how to look at it in the gender eye.
The Kenya Livestock Marketing Council, KLMC, Center for Minority Rights Development, SEMIRIDE, and the Pan-African Climate Justice Alliance, PACJA, have organized awareness activities targeting civil society and government officials on climate change matters.
We took data from the markets that are already managed by communities and compared with the markets that are not managed by the community. And there was a big difference because of the services that are being provided at those markets that really attracted many buyers. The next stage was now to create a legislation to be presented to county assembly.
We focused on trade and market bill, which we did it with support of different stakeholders. Now it's with county assembly. When that will be done, then there will be a lot of control of our management of livestock markets. We also developed a livestock policy. This has also gotten approvals from the cabinet.
The willingness of the political and policy makers arm to be able to embrace issues on climate governance. Climate change is now not a strange thing at the county government.
The inclusion of civil society organizations in policy-making processes and pastoralists' participation in technical working groups is on the rise.
So we look the project in a holistic way towards mainstreaming the issues of the climate change adaptation and looking at how can we build the community resilience so that at the end of the day, they can withstand the shocks that will come up with the climate change issues within the county.
The linkage that we have now had from the county level to the national level, of course the civil society organizations, from the grassroots level, the pastoral civil society organization, that most of the time people were not really giving a lot of airtime. Now them coming on board at the national level to engage through the Kenya Platform for Climate Governance, and them actually having themselves in the thematic working groups, like we have a specific thematic group for gender, youth and marginalized communities, which is now actually co-convened by a civil society from Marsabit.
What we did is that 2018, 2019, up to now, Concern was doing some advocacy work for increased budget allocation. KLMC were doing budget tracking on how the budget which were allocated to the department and how they were spent.
And they realized that we were getting very little funding, but through the agitation and their voice, at least now the amount of money coming to our sector has improved. At least the livestock markets are vibrant and there is harmony and there is at least, there is sense. Number two, even if, for example, somebody goes and buys livestock, they ensure that the person who has bought maybe is coming from far. At least he has the security of those animals going forward.
Our constitution envisages that people must be involved in every process, and therefore in public participation, because of the capacity gap we had, something that was coming from our wards or our stakeholders has been very minimal in terms of inputs to the budget-making process for livestock and agriculture. The capacity of the County Assembly has also been strengthened to understand that livestock is the backbone and that we can only revive the economy of this county through injecting good resources to a livestock sector, and that we have seen it happening progressively.
In terms of technical sustainability for the organization, it's really being achieved. I mean, the fact that government policymakers are realizing that you have voices that have previously been excluded, that they are strongly making an effort to start including in conversations is a really big plus.
Civil society organizations will continue to work with communities, pastoralist leaders and key decision makers to ensure that climate change and livestock policies include the voices of pastoralists.